Okay, greetings everyone. It's lovely to see all of you on the chat who are saying hello from your different places around the world. It's good to be back on Worldwide Insight. So I want to offer a meditation today that focuses on cultivating friendliness towards ourselves, and also I want to invite us to do a practice where we send kindness, send friendliness to, we radiate it out. So we'll do some practice in the meditation where we practice loving kindness towards ourselves, a specific object, but then we'll practice a different style, if you will, where we will simply practice to allow the energy of love, of kindness to pervade the space around us without an object. So yeah, great to see everyone joining in the call. So let's begin finding a position that's comfortable, that allows you to feel at ease and to settle. Letting the body settle, taking some grounding breaths. And allowing the mind also to settle in the body. And bringing up some quality of yourself that you appreciate, or that you know other people appreciate about you. Or it could be a moment of happiness that you've had recently where you really enjoyed yourself, or where you felt connected or be there for someone else, where you let go of something that needed to be let go of. Let yourself just kind of scan what's arisen for you in the last few days, few weeks, few months, and see if you settle on something that you can genuinely feel good about. Either something you know is really good about you, or something that you know others have appreciated. And allow yourself to let that in. Sometimes we skim over the things that we really need to spend time allowing to soak in to us. So if you've chosen a moment or a quality of yourself, allow it to become really focused in your mind. Either seeing yourself in that particular situation or feeling the texture of that good quality that you know you have. And allowing it to become bigger, to give it more space. Dwelling in and knowing deeply your own goodness. And out of this sense of appreciation, of treasuring yourself, beginning to feel kindness and gratitude for yourself, to generate friendliness toward yourself. If these phrases resonate with you, you're welcome to repeat them to yourself as you wish yourself well. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be at ease. Receiving these wishes for yourself, offering yourself the energy of care, of support, of kindness. Just as you are. Not needing to be any different to be worthy of your love. As if you're soaking in a warm bath of kindness, of gentleness, of appreciation, and love for yourself. Let yourself relax into this warmth and lightness, buoyancy of your own gentleness and sweetness toward yourself. If it's good to you, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart, one hand over the other, in a gesture of loving kindness, offering yourself the warmth of your hands, the presence of you offering support and care to yourself. And breathe that in, the tenderness, the love communicated by your hands. If other phrases arise that you wish to offer yourself, perhaps specific to your life right now, offer them to yourself, your body, your mind, as you hold your heart. These are some phrases that Thich Nhat offers. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and in spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. May I be free from anger, anxiety, fear, and afflictions. Or may I transform my fear, anger, anxiety, and afflictions, so that I won't be burdened by them. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and in spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. May I embrace my anger, anxiety, fear, and afflictions. Allowing the warmth of your hands to penetrate your chest and communicate the genuine wish for your own happiness, safety, and ease. Wonderful. So you can relax your hands down if you like, or keep them on your chest if you want as well. Feeling into the body, noticing what's happening in the mind. You're making a little pause in the meditation to almost like an inner shaking everything out and not trying to focus on anything right now. To give everything a break. So don't try to do anything in this moment. Don't try to pay attention to anything. Don't try to do anything. Just let yourself hang out here. Take a break from meditation, even as we are in a meditation posture. Just let everything go that you've been doing so far. Good. So now we move into the radiation practice, radiating friendliness with no object. So you might visualize a little lamp or candle in your heart, a candle of care, a candle of kindness, friendliness. And we're going to allow this energy of loving kindness to radiate first to the quarter in front of us. So the direction we're facing in right now, we can visualize opening up like a curtain to allow the light of kindness to gently flow out to all of space in front of us. The sharing of our care limit without any obstacles. So everything that is to the quarter of space in front of us. Radiating kindness. Anytime you notice your mind has wandered, recognizing that that's what was going on and gently returning attention to the practice of allowing friendliness to space in front of us. Now we bring attention to the quarter of space to the right, as if we draw back a curtain between us and all of the space to our right. We allow the light of friendliness, love, of kindness to pervade all of the space to our right. No object, no limit. This kindness that embraces everything, everywhere to our right. Sharing the kindness, sharing the friendliness without discrimination. Thing to the direction of your right. Now, allowing kindness, friendliness to direct itself to the space behind you, as if you pull back a curtain and allow this light, this radiance to shine in every direction behind you, without limit, without obstacle. Kindness, embracing everything in the direction behind you. Pervading the space with loving kindness, friendliness, care. Allowing yourself to relax into the pervading of the space behind you. Not trying, not producing and trying to push out something, but just like a light gently illuminates the space around it, allowing the light of kindness, of friendliness inside of you to effortlessly permeate the space behind you. Not trying. And now allowing the friendliness, the kindness to pervade the space to our left, as if we draw back a curtain and allow the light of care, of friendliness to pervade the space to our left without limit, radiating effortlessly into the space to our left. Again, anytime you notice thinking, returning attention to the intention the wish to offer kindness, to share your light with everything in the direction to your left, not excluding anything, radiating kindness, friendliness, compassion. Now returning attention to your heart center, feeling your body on the chair or whatever you're sitting on, standing on, lying on. Noticing your breath. Noticing the air around you, the sounds around you. And we'll bring our attention back to each other on this call. And feel free to do any kind of stretch or this or any kind of movement or yawn. And checking that you can still see me okay. Caroline, you can let me know that the camera is still working. Great, thank you. So today we're going to be looking at our relationships and how they are a place of awakening. And one thing I would like to invite us to do is a writing practice as part of the talk period of this call. So if you have paper and something to write with, that's great. I don't know where you might be listening to this class. If you can't write, then you're welcome to take it as a guided meditation when we get to that point. So as I sent out in my reflection piece before the class, there was an encounter that I had with my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who we call Thai, which means teacher in Vietnamese, when I was a young novice, recently ordained, where I was serving him tea in his room when he came to visit the night. And he just said to me out of the blue, "Other people are the path." And I knew at that time that he was trying to help me because he must have struggled with a sister that I found quite difficult. And he began to share that it's precisely in our relationships that we have the opportunity to awaken and to see ourselves clearly, and that the path of realization doesn't exist outside of how we relate to each other. It is the very path of transformation. And this was a story that, this was a conversation that I always would return to in my practice. It informed me somehow. I've never forgotten that he said that. It's especially important for me when I'm struggling with someone or have this idea that I shouldn't be having a hard time in a relationship with someone. One of the teachings that I heard often as a monastic was that the life of living in community was like how they would clean chopsticks in Asia before they had soap. They would, whoever was on the dishwashing duty would gather up all the chopsticks and rub them together, and that would take off the little pieces of rice or pieces of food and would clean them. And so that's the image of what it's like to live in community, is you get cleaned by being rubbed up against other chopsticks. So the moments of conflict or crashes with other people can be the moments of really smoothing out the rough spots. And another image is of stones in a riverbed that tumble around each other, against each other, and bang into each other, and then they lose their rough edges, becoming over time very smooth. So that impact that can be quite painful at times can also be full of wisdom and learning. So there's some stories that I want to share, just moments in my life where I've learned about myself and things I needed to let go of in difficult relationships, or in relationships I found difficult, because often they changed. So I remember once I was, we were having breakfast in the monastic community, and one sister came down late for breakfast, and I was often criticizing this sister in my head, and easily annoyed by things she would do, and I noticed the grumpy commentary in my mind of, oh, she's late. And mind you, I was not someone who was always on time myself, but found this something I could gripe about her, rather hypocritically. Anyway, I noticed that thought of irritation that she wasn't on time for breakfast. And then the next thought I had was, what would you do if she had been on time? How would I have felt about that? And I right away woke up inside and I realized I wouldn't have seen that positively. I would have found something else to be upset at her about. And that was such a clarifying moment for me, to see that it was me that was perpetuating my own suffering, that I was just looking for things to be critical of. And that if she would have done one thing right, I would have found something else that I didn't like. That was quite a reality check for me, and I realized I needed to really affirm her more and look for the good rather than looking for what was not good. Because when you look for what you don't like, you see it everywhere in someone else. Because we notice where our attention is going. That's what we notice. But if you are determined to see the things that are good in someone, then those are the things you start to notice more and more, that you hadn't paid attention to before, when you were focused on seeing only what was bad about them or what you didn't like. So I did that, and it shifted our relationship. I began to express to this sister a lot more often what I liked about her. And I started to, she was growing in her own practice. We were working together. I was learning from her, and I was able to tell her, I was able to shift that so that I could really see more of her skill as a teacher, more and more of her depth as a practitioner. And I really tried to tell her that. And that opened up a trust between us, and she began to reflect more of what she appreciated about me, and we began to just deepen our friendship, deepen our love. It wasn't like everything was easy or smooth. I mean, we still had misunderstandings, or would get upset at each other sometimes, but that basis of trying to see each other with compassionate eyes, with appreciative eyes, was the foundation that would see us through difficult moments. Before that, I think, or around somewhere in that same time, I was really struggling with a sister, and they were going to go some part of the year to another monastery for to attend, retreats at this other monastery. And I thought, great, now everything will be better, because we had really been struggling, and there was some conflict and tension in the community, and I had really put it on her shoulders. And so when she was going to be leaving, I thought, oh, good, now I'll get a break. We'll all be happy. Things will get better. And in fact, the opposite happened. And there was more conflict. There was more difficulty. I was more unhappy. And I was so surprised. And I really, again, realized she wasn't the problem. It was how I was looking at the situation. I was the main cause of my suffering. How I was looking at her, how I was scapegoating her, really putting all of the, way of seeing my own lack of practicing well in that moment, blaming her for that. So that was a big lesson, that other people are not responsible for my well-being, my state of mind, my happiness. They don't control whether I'm happy or upset. It's me who determines that based on how I look at a situation. It's not to say there aren't moments in our life where we really do need to shift things in a relationship with someone, letting them know that something they're doing is really difficult for us, or maybe being around them less because of their influence on us. So I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate times when we do need to put distance between ourselves and someone else, or create really clear, healthy boundaries. But that situation of feeling that I couldn't tolerate someone, or that someone else was the cause of my suffering, was a huge wake up and learning for me, that it had a lot more to do with me and how I was looking at the situation and holding the circumstances. So So I think that's really an invitation, that when we have difficulties or problems with others, that we want to take some time to investigate what's really going on, so that we can see as clearly as we can. The Buddha says very clearly that it's our minds that create our reality, that the world is a reflection of our minds. So I I invite you to reflect on your own lives and your own relationships, and if you see, in the relationships you've had, the way that they've shown you the path of practice, the way that relationships are your path of awakening, of deepening. And so we'll invite you now to do a writing practice if you'd like. Beginning anew from the Plum Village tradition. This is a practice taught by Thich Nhat Hanh. And it's a practice of reconciliation that helps us to sustain our relationships and also to reconcile when there's been conflict or estrangement or misunderstanding. There's 4 steps of this practice. I'm just going to share 2 with you. We'll just do a writing practice on 2 of them. So the first part is to express appreciation, which is also called flower watering, because each of us could be seen as a human flower, which needs water. We have beauty, we have goodness, we have humor and lightness and joy, forgiveness and generosity, kindness, and all those qualities need to be nourished. They're beautiful, lovely flowers in the garden of our being, and so we want to water them to keep them fresh. So I invite you to pick anyone in your life that you feel you'd like to reflect upon their positive quality and write them down. So it could be someone that's easy for you to love. It could be someone that's more neutral, that you don't know, so well. You don't have really strong positive or negative feelings towards them. It could also be someone you find difficult, someone that you struggle with, don't understand, that irritates you, or that somehow has hurt you. So whoever it is that you feel you'd like to write about, I'll offer a couple minutes to write down the positive qualities that you can recognize in this person. If you don't have paper and pen or not in a place where you can do the writing practice, do it as a guided reflection in your mind. So I'll give us about 2 minutes for this. reflecting on what is beautiful about this person, what is worthy of being lifted up, celebrated, acknowledged. Great. So you may have more to write, and you're welcome to continue later. But we'll move on to the second aspect of beginning anew. And this aspect, well, just to say one more thing about flower watering is that as I experienced when I began to shift and see the good in this sister, when I had been only looking for what I didn't like, I saw more of the good. So it's great if you want to express this appreciation to the person directly. If you are in a position to do that, it can be very healing, very supportive in your relationships to take a time to express that you're close to in your life, what you appreciate about them. If you chose a neutral person who you don't know well, you could also share with them your appreciation, sending them a letter, writing them an email, speaking to them in person. Also with a difficult person. It may be that this is something just that you want to keep for yourself. You don't have to share with them, but it may be something that you wish to share with them. The recommendation, the invitation with the practice of beginning anew is in a family, couple, or friend situation that you might do it regularly. Could be once a week, could be once a month, but that you sit down together and you regularly tell each other your appreciations. And also the next step we'll do is our regrets as a way to keep the aliveness of the relationship, because we can, think that, oh, that person knows what I like about them, or, oh, they know I love them, and for sure, of harmony or, doing things for each other, and there can also be a way that we in a very human way, kind of fall asleep to the good that's in our life, and we take it for granted. So the regularly expressing our appreciation keeps that bit of freshness and juiciness more flowing in our relationships. So when I was a nun in the community, we practiced every week or every 2 weeks to sit together and express our love and appreciation for each other. It's something that I try to do also with my family members and my friends, to take time to share with them in an intentional way. So the second step that you can do when you sit down with your loved ones is to share your regrets. And this could be, a harsh word that you said when you were rushing and you were, irritated, or you had a headache, and so you said something more gruffly than you meant to, or could be something you forgot to do, or in some way that you weren't present. Whatever you are aware of that you would have liked to have done more skillfully, it's helpful to share these things with each other also, so that we don't hold them inside, and then they can, from little pebbles, they can turn into bigger stones that can really cause obstacles in our relationships. If there are things that we feel really badly about, that can turn into guilt, and so then we start to avoid that person because we feel guilty about something we did. When if we simply come clean and say, I'm sorry, we forgive ourselves, we have the opportunity to move forward, to start fresh. That's why I like the name of this practice, beginning anew. We always need to begin anew in our relationships, and we can start afresh at any moment. You could be having a very bad day, making many bad choices, and when you see that, you say, I'm going to begin anew. Could be at 9 p.m. at night, I'm going to begin anew. I'm going to start over. And from that moment, you can make different choices. You can do things differently. So to come clean in a way, to own up to the things that we know we haven't done so well can be very empowering. So the next bit of the writing I'm going to invite us to do also for two minutes or so is anything you regret in relationship to someone in your life right now. Could also be in relationship to yourself. If you see that there's something that you would like to have done more skillfully, would like to have been more present for, you can name a few things, or you could describe in more detail one thing. So reflecting now on any person in your life with whom you may feel regret about something that you've done or said, not done, not said. So we'll take 2 minutes to write about that. And once again, if you have more to write or reflect on, feel free to continue after the class. This is just getting us started, getting us to reflect. And I will also put a link into the chat box to share with you the full practice of beginning anew if you want to read more about it, or since we only did the first 2 of the 4 steps, and pasting in the link. You can just go to plumvillage.org and type in beginning anew. There's other lovely explanations of it on other sites as well, but I just pasted that one. So I want to share a little bit about Dana and then also the online course, and then we'll be open for discussion and sharing and questions. So Worldwide Insight offers an invaluable opportunity for people to connect live to Dharma teachings from anywhere in the world. If everyone gives a small donation, it really helps to support me as a teacher and other teachers each week, and the considerable costs of Worldwide Insight, which can only continue with your support. So please offer what you feel drawn to offer using the button below the video. So as Caroline mentioned at the beginning of the call, I'll be offering an online class starting next week. It's my first online class. I'm rather excited. We did the filming this summer. So the course will be structured around the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 elements of true love, which are loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness or equanimity. And so each week we'll focus on one of those qualities. And I'll be drawing from the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, my teacher, and his book, Teachings on Love, which you're invited to study as part of the course, although it's not required at all. It's just helpful background reading. And I also draw on the teachings of Vipassana and Insight, the Insight tradition on loving kindness that I've studied and practiced. Like the radiating metta, radiating loving kindness that we just practiced in the meditation period, that was something that I learned in the Theravadan tradition. So that's a bit of a combination of those 2 traditions and lineages. And each week there'll be a video that talks about how we can practice those elements. And then there'll be a video how we can do that with others. And there'll also be a video with a guided meditation. Some of the guided meditations are, very precious classic teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, like the meditation on the 5-year-old child. And some of them come from other traditions, from other places. And I'll also offer a song to deepen our practice and internalization of the teachings, because when we sing, it comes to a deeper level of our consciousness, and those words and melodies arise in very surprising moments to remind us of our practice. So there'll be songs each week, and then each Sunday there'll be a live call for an hour where we can engage, and there'll be forums where you can write. And there'll, be people from all over the world taking the course that you can connect with and share your experiences with. Oh, and also at the end of each of the 2 videos that lay out the teachings for that week, there'll be a home inquiry, invitations to write a love letter, for example, or to reflect on something in writing, or to do some kind of practice to deepen your understanding and experience with each of these 4 elements of true love. And then the live interactive calls on Sunday will be places where you can ask questions, clarify things, go deeper, connect and have more resources for certain, if there's certain things you're interested in, we can source the community to figure out where we can get more resources for that. So that's a little bit about the course. If Caroline, if you have anything more you think it's important to mention, please jump on in. Otherwise, we'll open it to questions, which you can ask in person on the camera. You can let Caroline know you'd like to ask a question, or you can type them into the Ask a Question area. Okay, thanks, Caroline. She says, she thinks I've covered most of it for the course. So yeah, it's open to you now. And there was a question from someone in Italy about could there be English subtitles for the videos, and we're looking into that. We will let you know. we'll do our best if we can do that. So you're welcome to share, to ask in person, in writing. It could be about the meditation, it could be about what I shared on other people being the path, could be on the beginning a new writing practice that we just did as well. So Angelina sent in the question, what can we do to deepen our kindness practice with others in our daily lives? Thank you for the question, Angelina. I think it's very helpful to start with ourselves and to see what we can do to practice kindness towards ourselves. Because when we feel that towards ourselves, it can be that it becomes easier, more natural to do it with others, to see the ways we can do it with others. So this practice that I offered in the meditation of placing your hands over your heart, that's something that's very helpful to do every day, or even a hand to your cheek, a hand to your brow, or hugging yourself. But taking a moment to express very physically and concretely your own care for yourself. This gesture has been researched that it communicates to our reptilian brain, the part of our brain that goes into fight, flight, freeze, that I am safe, that I am okay. So helping ourselves to feel safe, to feel held, can help. And something that I like to do when I'm out in traffic or on public transportation, especially if I'm rushing and people around me are rushing, maybe at the airport, is to wish people well silently, to help to wish that everyone will get to where they're going safely, to wish them an easeful, safe journey, enjoyable journey, to have a good day. So you might see if that's a practice that feels interesting, enjoyable for you. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Christine asks, do I have to watch the videos at a specific time, or can I watch them at my convenience? So the videos are pre-recorded, so you can watch them at any time, and they will be released, I believe, on the Tuesday of each week. So the course officially starts the 23rd, which is this coming Tuesday. So the first week's videos will be released on Tuesday. And then the next week's videos will be released the next Tuesday, but I'm pretty sure you can watch them at any time if you don't watch them on Tuesday. And Caroline, could you just clarify if that's correct, that people can watch the videos at any time once they've been posted? It's the live calls on Sunday that are the ones that, if you want to engage one-on-one or in the group, that's the one to be there for. But I believe even those will be recorded and you can access them later. Yes, so Caroline says, yes, that's right. Okay, P says, what do you suggest if a relationship is such that you really can't find anything to appreciate in the person? Okay, good question. If you can't find anything to appreciate in the person, that's a good moment to take good care of yourself. If you feel that you've tried and you just can't feel appreciation for them, then it may be a moment to express kindness and compassion to yourself and really focus on that. And once that's more robust inside of you, that sense of feeling deeply loved, deeply held, not judged. So don't judge yourself if you can't appreciate anything in that person. Don't add more onto what's the situation that's already hard by thinking that something's wrong with you. Come back to yourself to offer yourself kindness. And eventually, I think what you'll see is if that's someone who you can't see anything to appreciate, that's someone who needs your compassion. They have a lot of suffering if they're acting in ways that are so hard to bear, that you need to be resourced to access this compassion. That's why we first want to come to appreciate ourselves. But then if we can see that we really see that they are suffering, and we can offer them compassion, and may their suffering cease so that they won't cause suffering to others. Thank you for that question. Well, thank you for your comment, Yvonne. Nice to see you on here. A deep insight from Tai about others being the path. I have found it so true. Thank you for that. Okay, so Caroline writes in the chat, thank you for your questions, everyone. To make it easier for me to find them, please use the Ask a Question menu item. Okay, I'm going to go to there to see what the other questions are. So Andrea has one here in the chat. I have the same question as P above. What can we do if we cannot bring ourselves to see the good in others and feel very critical about certain people? And I think I answered that, that when we're feeling critical, that's not then. Usually if we're feeling very critical of others, we may be also feeling quite critical of ourselves. So that's why we want to turn the practice of loving kindness, of gentleness, of compassion toward ourselves and not focus on the other person. Yeah, that would be the emphasis in that case. Okay, here's a question. In the writing practice, what do you suggest if things have gone so far that you feel completely aggrieved and can find nothing to appreciate in the person because you have experienced them as so hateful and disrespectful to you? Okay, that's the question that P asked also. There's a beautiful forgiveness practice as well, which may be what could happen after a lot of compassion towards ourselves for the suffering we've had at the hands of this other person. So we really want to be kind to ourselves. We really want to have good boundaries to not place ourselves in situations or not allow other people to be in relation to us in ways that are harmful to us. Lots of compassion for what we suffered, and also to see when the heart is ready, if there is a wish to practice forgiveness. And I think forgiveness may be more in order in a situation of a lot of real toxic relationships, which it sounds like when P, what you just wrote, sounds more like not just a minor someone you find irritating, but if someone's been hateful toward you, you really want to take good care of yourself there. And whenever you feel there's space and when you feel ready, you may want to practice forgiveness of that person, which doesn't mean trying to let them back in your life if they're harmful to you, but really it's about no longer carrying any resentment or hatred towards them, because that burdens you. So releasing yourself of the heaviness of the resentment and bitterness of that experience. And there's some lovely forgiveness meditations. One from Jack Kornfield, which you can look up online, and guided meditations and practices. So I would say in those kind of situations, like one of the things we say in loving kindness practice, when we have the categories of sending kindness to ourselves, for someone we love, a neutral person, a difficult person, is not to choose the most difficult person, but to start with someone very easy, and then work towards, over time, towards sending love to someone who's more and more difficult. So I would say, don't really think about, trying to make the most difficult relationship better right away. But forgiveness could be a path. And only when the heart has really let go of the bitterness, maybe then there'll be some openness to seeing something that you can appreciate in that person. But I wouldn't start there. Okay, and so another one, when being with negative emotions, this is from Anne, both in myself and with others, I try to embrace the feelings with metta, loving kindness. I've noticed that I consciously avoid wishing myself the phrase, may I be free from this suffering, as I feel that that would include a movement of aversion away from the negative feeling, a sort of, oh, please may I be rid of this. How can I fully accept the negative emotion whilst wishing myself free from it at the same time? Yeah, really good question. So in this book, Teachings on Love, the meditation that Thich Nhat Hanh takes from the Visuddhimagga Sutra or commentaries has that line, may I be free from anger, anxiety, fear, and afflictions. And I actually re-translate it for myself. May I transform these emotions, because I also don't want to practice aversion. So I think we can aspire to transform our suffering. That doesn't mean that we want to throw it away or get rid of it. So we want to hold it, we want to be with it, we want to embrace it, and that's what allows us then to move through it, not by trying to push it away and make it go away. So, I mean, maybe in the most, it's the most straightforward way to say it is, it's true you want to be free of your suffering. I mean, that's what liberation is. That's what, realizing the path is. But it's not by aversion to your suffering, pointed out. It's by embracing being with, and then that is what frees us. But it's not by trying to get out of it. So, yeah, may I transform it. Anna asks, why in the reconciliation practice do we list the regrets after the appreciation? Is there a purpose in this order? Okay, and then she also asks, what's the price of the online class? And I wonder if, Caroline, if you could put that in the chat, because I don't have that page open. I think it's something like $200, or there's a range, but she'll put it in the chat. So in the reconciliation practice, we start with appreciation because we want to nourish the good. It also helps us to be resourced and balanced and feeling fresh to then hold what's difficult. So we start with our joy, appreciation. When we do beginning anew, we don't need to do all of the steps every time. I know a woman who shared that she and her partner, also a woman, that they practiced just watering the flower for many months before they got into any of the other steps. So it may be that if you want to do this with someone else, maybe you just express appreciation for a while until there's that trust, there's that awareness of the other person really looking at you to see what's good in you before you begin to share other things that um, that go, into what's difficult. So we start with the appreciation. We then go into the regrets, because if we are using the practice of beginning anew to help us with our conflicts, then we want to first take responsibility for anything we've done before we tell the person something that they may have done. So we want to let them see that we've done our homework and looked into the situation, that we're not just blaming everything on them, but we're trying to take responsibility for anything that we may have done. So that's in the context of sharing our hurt, which is the third step of beginning anew. But even if we have no hurt to share, we start with appreciation, and then we share our regrets in case there's anything that we would feel bad about if we didn't say, if we didn't speak to, that would be some kind of weight on our shoulders. So it's a way of releasing that. And this is a practice that the main thing with mindfulness practice is you want to use what works in the way that works for you. So I've just explained the order as I understand it, but if you find that it's better to do it in a different order, that's fine. You should see what works best for you in your situation with the people that you're working with or in relationship with. Okay, so Caroline says this is $175, but bursaries are available in case of financial hardship. And she gives the link with more information, and if you have further questions, she gives the email. Zahava has a question. What can we do when someone is very cold, despite you trying so hard to be kind and loving to them? I'm sorry, that was Yvonne. And Zahava has, I have the same question. Compassion for a person who is suffering but has turned the compassionate people away. So I think as I was sharing in the story about the sister, there can be a belief that we can't be happy unless that person loves us and receives our love. And we can have a kind of story in my head. I know I have this story. That's why I'm speaking about it this way. I'm not saying you have that story, but I know I do. That when I'm trying to love someone and they respond to me with coldness, that I start to see myself as a victim in that situation, that I'm doing everything I can to be kind, to be loving, and they're not responding. And that, there's something that then I can't be happy because they're not loving me the way I want to be loved. But that's not true. We can love them, and then we have to let go. And that's the fourth element of true love, which is equanimity or inclusiveness. We do our best, and then we see that that person has their own path. And they have to go through the things they have to go through in their life, and we can't control that. And they maybe go, something that prevents them from receiving love. Even though we're offering it in the best way we know how, we can't control how they receive it. And so we can't be stuck in the belief that that our happiness is dependent on their response. So we do our best, and then we let go. And if they can't receive it, if they can't respond in kind, we can still be happy. We can still find sources in our life that can bring us joy, and we also can still continue to love them in spite of they're not returning it or even being unkind to us in return. So for one, it's important to also recognize that's something to appreciate in ourselves, that we have that capacity to still love someone even when they're difficult. And it may be that our accepting them as they are, not wanting them to change, even though they're causing themselves and others suffering, but we love them like that. It may be that that kind of love without conditions is what they need in order to shift. It may be, but it may be that their path is something else. And we have to find out what's, the right way for us in that situation, to let go so that we don't keep getting hurt, and also so that we don't take things personally. It may have nothing to do with us. It's not a character assessment whether or not they return our love or not, right? So we really need to distinguish those two things. And if we can keep our hearts open to them and keep loving them, then that's how we maintain our happiness, because we receive what we give. So it may not be that we receive it from them, but we receive it from other directions. When we keep our hearts open and loving, love will find a way to reach us. Okay, with the beginning anew, if the person is not open to contact or conversation, how is the best way to practice to move toward reconciliation? So a very helpful teaching of Thai is that reconciliation takes place within oneself. So we want to first reconcile with ourselves, which is to forgive them, basically. If they're not open to contact or conversation, then we want to come to reconciliation within ourselves about how things happened in that relationship. So we can forgive ourselves if we see that there are things that we wished we had done differently, and then we can forgive them for how they have acted in that relationship. And in the forgiving, we continue to offer them loving kindness and care, regardless of how they respond to us. That we wish them well. Because if they're suffering like that, we don't want to wish them more suffering, right? Okay, and then the last question is, will you repeat the phrases where you added? Very powerful and helpful. Yes, so the phrase is, may I transform my anger, fear, anxiety, and afflictions. And that's in this book, Teachings on Love. It's one of the sentences in the loving kindness meditation. May I transform my anger, fear, anxiety, and afflictions. So we are at time. Our class is coming to an end now at 3:31. It's been lovely to be with you all. Please use the practice of beginning anew in your lives, even if you practice it just with yourself and not with someone else. I hope it's helpful for you. And also the loving kindness practices with the phrases, with the radiating in all directions. Maybe I'll see some of you on the course starting on Tuesday. It'd be lovely to stay connected with you that way. And thank you for your practice today. And I'd like us to end with a dedication. If you feel comfortable, you can join your palms. And we will offer up the merit, the good energy of our practice together today for the benefit of all beings everywhere. May all beings everywhere know peace, know freedom, and know the transformation of fear and afflictions. Thank you so much for your practice. It was great to be with all of you. Much loving kindness to you all.